Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Arlen Visser. I'm one of the senior health specialists here at Argetta and Company. This webinar is scheduled for 30 minutes, so it won't take too much of your day, too much time out of your busy day. Before we get started, we will have everyone muted, and at any time you can type your questions in on the right side. We will address them at the end. So I would like to introduce Ken French. He's the president of Snoozy Inc. to talk about how AI can evaluate your website in the social media game. So go ahead, Ken, and take it away. I'll give you controls.
Thanks, yeah, let's just switch out the screens here.
There you go.
Okay. Are you able to just give me control? I have some samples and stuff I want to go through.
Yeah, you should have control. I gave you control there.
Sorry, everyone. Just bear with me a second here. Okay. So, okay. But what I have is I have control of your screen. Are you able to allow me to show my screen? I have the PowerPoint and I have quite a few samples I need to reference.
No, the only thing I have is this PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name's Ken French. I think it's important you guys understand that I grew up in the insurance industry, got in the business back in the late 90s, and back then we used to have a family-owned business. Long story short, we had a company very much like Argetta, and our clients were independent insurance agents that sold employee benefits, Medicare, life, health. And when I got in the business, my job was not a glamorous one. I used to drive around the state and go visit all of our agents' offices. And back in 1999, my job was to go in there and basically say, hey, look, Blue Cross Blue Shield in the year 2000, they don't want you faxing these apps anymore. They want you to get a thing called a scanner and to get a thing called email and email over all the information to them. And you know, I used to get kicked out of people's offices, them telling me, look, I've worked with your grandpa and your dad for 40 years. I'm never going to stop faxing. This is how I'm going to run my business. And I know some of you might be chuckling, and, you know, to some extent it wasn't a happy story. But anyway, long story short, as my career kind of developed, obviously the technology aspect of it really, it came very quickly. And by 2002, 2003, obviously everyone had email, and agents started to need their own agency management system to kind of store all these things that they were scanning. So I would kind of develop those types of things. And then by the mid 2000s, it turned into websites, and it turned into, hey, maybe you need to have a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook page. To make a very, very long story short, healthcare reform came at the end of that decade, 2008, 2009. And, my father decided at that point to retire, and he sold the business, sold it to a company called Benefit Mall out of Dallas, Texas. And, when he did that, I took my wife, Kerry, I took a few of my IT people, and we decided to start our own company called Snoozy. And basically, we continued on doing what we were doing, which was really helping agents build their own websites and, have a more active social media presence. So what we're going to talk about today is we're really going to talk about having a plan. And I think that that's where a lot of agents struggle. Again, I've been doing this 15 years, and the amount of times I have people call me up, usually they'll say, hey, Ken, yes, I have a website. I paid this guy who lived down the street from me. I paid him a lot of money, $2,000. Gosh, I never got a lead. I never got nothing from it. And I'm really down on it. I'm down on social media. I don't know what to do. And, usually the first thing I say to them is I go, well, look, okay, I get it. But I think where you went wrong is there was no game plan. Okay. And with that being said, I'll say, well, how many people last month did you send to your website? How many people last year did you send to your website? And most of the time, the agents that are struggling, they'll come back and say, well, look, I never sent anybody to the site. I was just kind of hoping people would find me. And, I think that's kind of the point of today's seminar. We're going to talk about, how to get people on your site to do things, and that there's a lot of tools out there that can help you. The days have come and gone where magically people are going to find you. They're not. I was just telling Arlen before, when I started this business, there was about 10,000, 15,000 insurance agent websites in 2009. In the year 2024, there's almost over 150,000 independent insurance agent websites. So the odds of somebody just typing in Nebraska insurance and you coming up first, that's not viable. That's kind of crazy talk. That being said, you need to have a website. You need to have a social media presence, because the consumer, if they're getting referred to you, they're going to use their smartphone and they're going to Google you, and they're going to say, let me check out this Michelle Smith. Is she legit? Is she just some sort of, is this her side hustle? Is it worth calling this person? And obviously your website, your social media presence, those things can set the tone, obviously for why they should work with you. So today we're going to talk about doing. That's the theme. So, my strategy here to kind of get my point across is to tell a few stories. I'm going to tell stories about agents I helped during the fall, during AEP, and I'm going to go through their situation and kind of how we help them. I think that's a lot better than being super technical. And I think, you guys will get some ideas from it, which is what I'm hoping for. So that being said, let me just see something here. No, I can't. Okay. That being said, let's start off with the first story. So I had a client call me up, and she basically said, I got in the business. This is last September. I got in the business, in January, and I'm selling Medicare and life insurance. And gosh, real quick, I got 50 clients, like real quick in the first 3 or 4 months. Got all the people that kind of, I knew and were friends of friends. But over the last 4 months, unfortunately, I've hit the wall, and I really haven't, I've gotten a few, but I've lost a few. And, I'm stuck. So, I started to ask her some questions, and basically she said, look, I'm a local agent. That's my strategy. That's my model. I do a lot of community involvement. I try to do educational meetings at the library. And I get people coming to these, but for whatever reason, a lot of them just don't go to the next step. They don't call me up. They don't fill out my scope form. So I said, okay, well, let's look at your website. And she had this website that her upline had recommended for her. And, the website was very what I would call corporate. It did not have her picture on it. It did not have any information about why you would want to work with her. It did not have any pictures from her community events. And it did have a social media presence, but when you went to her Facebook page and you went to her LinkedIn page, she hadn't posted. They basically were set up and they were basically dormant. So I said to her, well, this I think is the root of the problem. You're doing these local events. You're handing out she was handing out kind of flyers that said, hey, look, I'd love to do a no-cost consultation. I'd love to do an in-person appointment at your home or a third-party location. And the next step is to go to my website and, fill out the scope form, and, I'll call you up and we'll do it. So I said, I think people are coming to the site and there's no picture of you. There's no pictures of these community events. There's no overview about who you are and what your process is. It basically looks like your website is a call center. And she said, look, my upline told me to use this website company. It's very, very expensive. She was paying like $400 or $500 a month for this website. And she said, the website company makes me have to do all the changes myself, which I'm not comfortable doing. I don't understand compliance, so I don't know how to do it. I'm scared to get in trouble. So this is what I got. So basically what I said to her is I said, well, look, I can help you, but we got to do kind of like a complete rebrand here. So the first thing we did is I interviewed her for about 30 minutes. And, as I was talking about before, I'm a believer that there's no magic with these websites. There's no magical technology that you can put on there. The key is to build something that's designed around the way you do business so you feel comfortable with it and you can send people to it. So this is where I wanted to kind of show a sample. And when we get off the phone, when we get off this call, Arlen's going to email everybody an overview of the presentation, and he'll send you over a few sample websites you can look at that I'm going to reference in some of these. You guys can go back and look at them. But long story short, we created a site that had this new about section. It had her photo. It had that she does in-person appointments. It had her calendar, so you could click on it and schedule a meeting with her. We developed this whole community involvement page that had all these pictures of her at the library and her at the senior center. And more importantly, we created the whole kind of client success stories section where we had testimonials from her top clients. So long story short, we developed this whole section around the strategy of her doing these educational webinars and the educational seminars, giving people the handout, and then obviously the people going back to the site later on to schedule a meeting. And long story short, after the first 90 days of it, things completely turned around for her. She started to get quite a few of the permission to contacts filled out on the site, actually had more people willing to, of course, give her testimonials, current clients, and and actually cross-sold a few annuities, which was the first time she had actually done that. Now, the reason that happened is, she was sending people to the site. And one thing I didn't mention is we did try to reinvigorate her social media presence. One of the things that I get a lot of phone calls from people is they'll say, yes, I have a website. I don't really use it. Yes, I think I created a social media presence. I don't really remember. And long story short, things aren't going so well. The phone isn't ringing and I'm stuck. And, just to kind of go back to this first story, the key here is that, have you ever tried to Google yourself? And if you have Googled yourself, like let's just put your name in, Bob Smith Medicare, Bob Smith Life Insurance, whatever you sell, what comes up? And I think this one sample, this was kind of my point. When you Googled this girl, this kind of terrible website came up that had nothing about her. And, obviously the social media presence came right up. She hadn't posted in basically 10 months. Her LinkedIn page still said she basically did real estate. If you were a consumer, your impression would not be a good one. So to me, that's kind of lesson number one today, is that you need to be accountable for these things, and you need to do a good job branding yourself so people know why they should work with you. There's too many people selling life insurance and Medicare right now. It's like almost 200,000. These poor people turning 65, they're getting bombarded by people 6 months before they turn 65. So if they finally find their way to you, what is their perception of you going to be? And I know a lot of you might do this as like a side hustle. You might do it part-time. Hey, I'm not here to insult you. That's fine. You got to do what you got to do. But that doesn't mean you need to look like you do it part-time. You need to look like you do it full-time and that you're an expert and you're a guru. So the website's got to be branded. The social media, it's got to be active. You got to have good educational content flowing on it about the products that you sell, because you never know if somebody is going to Google you and find that, and that's going to be their perception of you. And again, when we get off the call, I'll send Arlen some stuff that he'll send out to everyone that you can kind of look at. Okay, so story number 2. This is more technologically customer service oriented. So I had a client, it's been a client for 3 years. And every year I've been trying to make her a little bit more tech savvy, but like I said in the beginning, to each his own. Everyone's got their own style. I'm not certainly here to try to change your style. I'm just here to try to help you, kind of incorporate some ideas into what you're doing and maybe make you do it better. So anyway, I have this client, let's call her Karen. And in 2022, she had about 600 clients, mostly Medicare subs. And one of her things that she liked to do is she liked to write a personal letter to each client and basically send these out in the beginning of the summer in preparation for AEP. And in that personal letter, she would include a client update form that she supplied, and she'd have an envelope and a stamp. And basically, she wanted these people to get the letter, read it, in the form, update if they're taking any new drugs, has their contact information changed, and then basically put it back in the envelope and send it back to her. Her goal was to get 450 of these forms back by October 1st, 2022. Well, long story short, she got 10 forms back in 2022. She got about 25 phone calls from her clients saying, hey, look, I got your letter. That was really thoughtful, but you have like an easier way for me to get this information back to you. And then the rest of her clients, she kind of got nothing, like a zero response. So long story short, she kind of was forced to, really do it the old fashioned way by kind of calling every client, going through, hey, did anything change? Do we need to set up a meeting? And long story short, her and I had a very tough phone call at the end of 2022 where she basically said, do you know anyone who wants to buy my book of business? Because I'm done with this. And I said to her, look, either you got to sell this or you have to take this as a wake-up call that your clients, they don't want to do it this way anymore. And she said to me, you're right. I called everybody and they basically told me right to my face, they really appreciated the handwritten letter. Like they knew I cared about them, but, they kind of forgot about it. Like they put it on the counter and next thing you know, the summer got long and the dog ate it or whatever, and they never got me the information back. So I said to her, well, in 2023, we got to change the way you're doing this. We need to use technology. We need to use your website. We need to create some kind of automated response tools on your site that are going to help you do this better. So the first thing I said to her is look, I am going to design this kind of AI landing page on your website where the consumer can go and they can update their information. They can update their drug info. They can update their doctor info. And it's going to talk directly to your agency management system and then send you kind of an automated response back when this stuff gets filled out. I said, that's going to be the foundation of what we're going to do. And again, I have some samples I can show people afterwards. I'll have Arlen kind of send you some stuff. So anyway, what we did is we but let me track back for a second. She still felt the need to write these handwritten letters. She said, I got to write the handwritten letters. People loved them. But instead of me making them fill out the return envelope, no. I'll put this landing page in the letter. So I said, okay, well, let's put a QR code in there that they can scan, and it'll take them right to the form. Or, we'll also put a link to the page on the website. And I said, on top of that, you write your handwritten letters, but I want you to send a follow-up email 2 weeks after we send the letter out and six weeks out after we send the letter out. So long story short, last, October, she ended up getting about 415 of these things back. Using the QR code, using the website tool, it all went directly into her agency management system. Now, keep in mind, all this is kind of AI generated where when the people filled out the form, it went into her agency management system. It automatically sent them her calendar where they scheduled their time during AEP to talk to her. And, it just basically saved her, I don't want to say hundreds of hours, but probably did. It's probably like hundreds of hours. Plus, it saved her all the money she spent on the stupid stamps, the return envelope stamps. And more importantly, when we looked at her Google Analytics at the end of the year, her website traffic was through the roof. She sold quite a few more life insurance policies and annuities to current clients who had kind of forgotten she did that stuff. So without rambling on, this kind of goes back to the first thing I was talking about. It's 2024. You need to have a website. There's no option where you're not having a site, but it can't just be a billboard. This thing's got to be a tool for you. You got to figure out how to use it for new business and to service your current clients. This example I'm giving you reviews how it helped this lady service her current clients. But by servicing her current clients, she was able to cross-sell because she got these people on the site to do easy things. And then when they were on the site, they looked at her branding, right? They looked at the testimonials about how she helped somebody with income planning. And next thing you know, someone called up and said, hey, I'm filling out the form for Medicare this year. Hey, me and my husband are retiring at the end of the year. Can we talk about some of these services you have? So to me, this is a prime example. You don't have to be a technological genius, but you have a game plan on how you're incorporating the site to really help you. All right, so story number 3. I was talking to, again, one of my clients, and this is a new agent, been in the business about 3 years, and this was back in September. And basically, she called me up, and she was having like a panic attack. And hey, no offense, I get it. AEP it's not a fun time of the year for a lot of people. And she basically said, okay, I'm preparing for AEP. Ken, what can you do to help me? And I said, okay, well, how did last AEP go? What's the feedback? And she said, last AEP was okay, but, my business is growing and it's just me. And I can't afford to hire somebody to help me. And what happened last year is the phone just rang off the hook. And a lot of times people were leaving voicemails and I didn't get back to them for like a day or two. And people got really mad at me. And I actually got a few bad Google reviews. And I was really, really stressed out and upset about it. And she basically said, I feel stuck. I don't know what to do because I'm heading into AEP 2023 and my book of business is now 100 clients more than it was last year. What do you suggest? So I said, okay, well, let's think about this voicemail for a second. I said, what's your voicemail strategy? She said, what do you mean voicemail strategy? So like they leave a voicemail and I call them back. And I said, okay, well, that's a voicemail strategy from 1995. I said, let's think about ways, that we can make it better. So I said, look, I just developed this kind of customer service AI tool that I can install on your website. And again, I have samples of this. We'll send it out after the webinar. I kind of goofed up. I thought I'd be able to show these. But anyway, so I said, let's install this little customer service app on your website. And basically this little app pops up when somebody visits the site and it says, hey, how can I help you? And it gives them choices. They can schedule a customer service call. They can go into the calendar. They can fill out a customer service ticket where they can kind of say what their problem is, etc. Or they can go into the client update form, fill in any new info, drugs, doctors, etc. So I said, okay, step 1 is I'm going to develop this. I've already developed this tool. I'm going to put it on your website. There's no cost. This is something I do for my clients. Number 2, we are going to change your voicemail. And on your voicemail, we're going to basically change it to like this. Hey, this is Sarah Smith. It's currently my busy season, so bear with me. You can leave a voicemail, and I'll call you back as soon as I possibly can. Or if you want to get instant customer service, you can go to my website, sarahsmith.com, and you can access my customer service tool. You can schedule a consultation. You can complete a customer service ticket, or you can update your information, and I will then get back to you within 24 hours. So long story short, this was a huge success for her because really the root of the problem was that a lot of her clients were expecting her to return their voicemail like same day, like in an hour or two. And they got impatient. They got stressed out because it's AEP and they felt like it was time sensitive. It had to be done then. So by developing the new voicemail and basically pushing the tech savvy people, because keep in mind, she still was saying, hey, if you want to leave a voicemail, you can. And for her older clients, they did. They left a voicemail, they were fine. But for the more tech savvy 60-year-olds or whatever, they went to the website and they utilized the AI customer service tool. And this removed all of that negative energy, because by letting them go into the tool, they felt like they were moving forward, that they were getting service, that they didn't hit a wall of, oh my God, I called this girl and she must be dead because she's not calling me back, or she's out of business. So by kind of saying, hey, look, this is an option for you, go to the site, fill it out, all that negative stuff went away this year. And it worked so well that I've left the tool on her site. She's still using it. So to me, that's a big deal. It's easy to run your business when you have 100 clients. But what happens when you have 200, 500, 800, 1,000 clients? Do you have a system for basically being open 24/7 and making them feel like they're getting help? I always find it funny. I always have people who say, I don't need a website. I don't need technology. I will run a marathon for my clients. And I say, I get it. And I believe you. I totally believe you that you would sit on the phone with Aetna for 7 hours if you had to help your client. I get it. But what happens to the other client who calls up while you're on the phone with the carrier for 7 hours? Yeah, they hit a wall. They get voicemail. You're not running a marathon for them. You're basically ignoring them. Not that you're trying to ignore them, but this is just what's happening due to the volume of the situation. So I think for me, this is an important concept with having a website pushing forward. It allows you to go to sleep at night. It allows you to take a few days off and you're still open. You're still working because you can have these tools that talk to your clients for you. I'm not saying you're replacing your personal service. I'm just saying it's like your little backup that's there. Because if you don't have a backup, I guess what I'm trying to say is you got to sleep eventually. You got to take a few days off eventually. You're going to burn out. So having these types of tools can be game changers. All right, scenario number 4. This is a little bit more new business oriented. So I had a client call up, or actually this was not a client, had heard about our services. And she basically said, hey, look, I've been in the Medicare business now, Medicare and life insurance. I've been in it about 4 years, and I'm getting really serious about it this year. And this year is my high school's 45th reunion. And, I'm kind of on the board and I'm trying to help plan it. And they have a Facebook business page. They have a Facebook group for the high school reunion. And I want to figure out how to tap into that group and let these people know that I can help them when they're turning 65. Because most of the people going to the reunion were still like 63, 64. So she was looking at this as like a farm system where she's going to get in front of them now. And then, for the next year or two, let them know that she can help them. So she said, hey, look, I got a Facebook business page. I have no clue how to use it. But that's my plan. I'm going to go into this group and I'm going to tell everybody I can help them with Medicare. And, I'm going to get leads from it. And I said, okay, put the brakes on immediately. I said, I don't like your plan at all, because if you go into that group and you just start soliciting people, everyone's going to ignore you. And they're going to just think they're not going to take you seriously. They're not going to look at you as an expert. I said, you have to understand, with Facebook, it's been around 20 years. There's a lot of people that are like Facebook addicts. They're totally addicted to it. And there's kind of like an etiquette. I don't know if anyone on today's call plays golf, right? Golf etiquette. There's certain things you do on the course. There's certain things you don't do. And if you do those things, you might find yourself not playing golf anymore. So it's the same thought when you're in these Facebook groups. You have to know how to act. So I was trying to tell her, I go, this is a fragile situation. It could be a huge asset to you, or you could burn it all to the ground in about 5 minutes. So I said, there's some things we need to do to put you in a position to be successful. I said, number 1, we need to create you a Medicare life insurance website so you look like you're in business and you're legit. Number 2, we got to go into that Facebook business page and we need to make it look nice. We need to make it match the website we've created. And we need to get good educational Medicare content flowing on it every day. Once that's in place, I want you to go into Facebook. Now, the funny thing is this lady was actually very good with Facebook. She had about 700 friends on Facebook, not even counting the people in the group. I said, I want you to go in to the Facebook business page. We're going to get some content on there. And then I want you to invite all 700 of your friends to start following this business page. So I said, once we do that, then we're going to have a plan for getting these 850 people in the group to know that you're the Medicare expert, the Medicare lady. Because I said, look, once you start to do all these things, people are going to do their diligence on you. And if you don't have a website and you don't have the Facebook business page, you're going to look like you're not really in the game. So I said, what we're going to do is we're going to go with a marathon approach. We're going to do a little bit every day, but we're going to keep moving. So I said, step three is I want you to go into this high school reunion group, and I want you to pick 3 people a day, and I want you to invite them to be your friends on Facebook if you haven't already. And I want you to start with the people that you know the best. Once they accept your friend request, you're then going to send them, Facebook kind of has like an AI instant message tool where you can have auto responses set up. I want you to set up this little AI response, and I helped her do it, where basically they're going to accept her friend request. Then it's going to automatically send them a little message that says, hey, you should follow me on Facebook. My Facebook business page offers free tips and FAQs and education about turning 65 and Medicare. And, I know in a few years you'll be turning 65. So that was kind of the 4th piece to the puzzle. And then I said the 5th piece of the puzzle is I want you to become a very active member of this high school group. But I never, ever, ever, ever want you to talk about Medicare in this group. No matter how much you think it's a good idea, never. So she promised me. It took a while. It took like 20 minutes to convince her because, hey, look, I get it. You're all salesmen. Your prime instinct is to try to sell. But sometimes reverse psychology gets more results than being aggressive. So what I had her do is I said, I want you to just be an active member. When people are talking about, hey, where's a good local hotel to stay? I want you to give suggestions. I want people to know you in the group so that you're, a good producing group member who's helping the big picture of the high school reunion. So once we did this, it kind of became like an ongoing situation. So anyway, this was about 3 months ago. And over the last 3 months, I've got her, she's friended almost 450 of the group members. And of that 450, 150 are now following her Facebook business page. So when she came to me, she had like no one following the business page. She had set it up that day. She's got 150 of the people from the group, and she's got about 200 people from who are her current friends. So her Facebook business page now has like 350 people that she's dripping on daily with content. And, I think the moral of this story is, number one, yes, she's getting results. She actually got a really good referral from somebody who's in the group to a senior living facility where she's now going in once a week and sitting and talking with people, and she's gotten quite a lot of business from that. But I think the moral of the story is a lot of times to really grow your business, it's not like a 5-minute lightning strike. It's usually a marathon approach. And that's, to me, this is how she has been successful with this, with this scenario. She started off by wanting to just solicit and instantly just start soliciting. She would have been kicked out of the group. No one would have talked to her. So, I told her, I said, to be successful, you have to understand that there's quite a few pieces to the puzzle for this scenario to get results. We got to have our brand, our website. We got to have the active social media presence so people take you seriously as an active producer. We got to have a strategy for pulling these people in a personal way and talking to them one-on-one, and then we got to drip on them with the business page. And, like I said, this didn't happen overnight. 3-4 months later, she's starting to see results. And, I'm confident that because again, the reunion isn't until the end of this year. And, the people going to the reunion aren't 65 yet. They're 63, they're 64. She has written a few spouses that are 65. But to me, this is like what I call the long-term plan. It's not everything. This isn't her whole business. It's one or two buckets. But I think if you can get a lot of buckets, 6, 7 buckets of how business comes in, all of a sudden you're pretty successful. So in summary, having a website, having a social media presence in 2024, it's vital. But the really fancy billboard site that doesn't really have any branding, it doesn't tell people why they should work with you, it doesn't have any, functionality and auto response capability, it's probably not going to help you. You have to have a game plan on how to make it work for you. And the thing that I stress is, look, if you're someone who says, look, Ken, I'm very local. I do a lot of personal in-person appointments. I talk with everyone face to face. That's okay. There's a strategy for you with a website. And there's a strategy for somebody who might do this over the phone and do Zoom calls. It's different for everyone. But I think the key is if you feel like you have scenarios like some of these people I talked about, and it's holding you back, and you feel like you're kind of stuck and you don't have anyone who can help you, I think you should kind of look at what me and Kerry do. And I have a site, jetter.snoozy.net, that you can go and look at. And basically, it reviews my services, what we do, how we can help you. The one thing I always promise people is I try to be very blunt. Our website services, honestly, we don't even charge a setup cost. It's just a fixed monthly cost. And I always tell people, I go, look, it's going to take me like 25 hours to build you this site. I don't want to build it and then 2 months later you come back and go, oh, I don't know what to do. So the one thing that I try to be very upfront with people is I say the first thing we got to do is we got to figure out a plan that's going to work for you and that you're comfortable with. Obviously, we got to make sure the site's compliant. We got to make sure it's functional. We got to make sure it's got tools on it that are going to help you. But I think the key is if we go back to kind of that first slide I had where, it's kind of like, hey, why are things not going so well? How many people this week did we send to the site? How many people this month did we send to the site? The answer can't be no one. Oh, I haven't done anything. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping people find me. You got to do things. And, obviously with a lot of the new technology that's out and with a lot of the new technology that's coming out, these things, they don't need to make you some sort of robot or some sort of e-commerce company, but they can be your backup for when you're on the phone, when you're busy, and it can make people feel like, hey, this person can still help me. So like I said, we're going to take some questions in the next minute here. We're going to send you guys out an email afterwards with probably a recording of the webinar, and I'll make sure that we include some of these sample sites so you can kind of, see some of the tools we have. And I would love if you guys would check out jetter.snoozy.net. You can check out our website services. It takes us about 4 days to build you or redesign your site. Cost is about $69.99 a month, no setup fee. We offer a social media service where we can post educational, Medicare, life insurance, P&C, health insurance, employee benefit, you name it, content onto your Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter if you guys don't have time to do it yourself. After, whether it's, later today, later this week, later this month, I would be happy to set up a 15-minute consultation with any of you to talk through your product focus, to talk through your style, to talk through your current technological situation. And, like I said, I try to be blunt. I'll try to answer your questions, try to give you a few ideas, and we can kind of figure out, if I can help you or not. So I appreciate you guys all coming on today, and go on to the next step here.
Thanks, Ken. Let me look to see if there's any questions, and it does not look like there's any questions at this time, but if you happen to think of questions later on, please give us a call at 800-228-0008. Ask for a senior health specialist, or you can just email us at seniorhealth@jetter.com if you'd like to learn more about the Jetter and Company's discount with Snoozy. With that being said, I'd like Thank you for attending, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Arlen. Have a good day, everyone.